Good morning. No, not good morning. It's good afternoon, everyone. Welcome all of you joining the public presentation organized by the Occupational Health Center. Today, the topic is quite important for any workplaces, right? To understanding the workplace safety enforcement and compliances. We are so pleased to have John Cacayuran and the Safety and Health Officer from Workplace Safety and Health, the division the Department of Labor and Immigration to doing the presentation for us. Since we are in the process to revising our land acknowledgements, sorry, we are going to skip today and then stay tuned for the next time. We're going to have a brand new land acknowledgement to release. And for participating this session, we are going to ask you to put all the question on the chat box area. Then John will be going to answer them after his presentation. And you can see this event is also being recorded for viewing after, then we could share with you later on. And please connect with us. We are unable to answer all the questions. If some of the folks doesn't know anything about Occupational Health Center, we are funded by the Winnipeg Regional Health Authorities via the Community Health Center located on 167 Sherbrooke Street and in Manitoba here, Winnipeg. We provide the services to the Manitoba workers with work-related health issues and work closely with the Joint Workplace Health and Safety Committees for training. So our services is all free, and also visit our website for more information and resources. So I would like to introduce John for you to read his bio. Now he is working in his 20th years as a civic servant for the province of Manitoba. John has worked extensively in the regulatory compliances enforcement field in the gaming, liquor, and cannabis industry, and currently as a safety and health officer. John is also an University of Winnipeg graduate in criminal justice studies and currently enrolled in the safety program offered by the University of New Brunswick. John continues to upgrade his knowledge to better serve all Manitobans. And outside the workplace, John is also a father of 2 children and volunteer soccer coach and enjoys golfing. Now, please join me to welcome John.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for allowing us to come here today and present. My name is John. I'm a safety health officer. I'm in my 4th year here. And I've been asked to talk about our inspection processes and when we do go to workplaces. So I will start my presentation now. Like Tiffany said, please, if you have questions, we will address them after, but I will start my presentation. So what to expect during a workplace safety and health inspection. So workplace safety and health conducts primarily 2 types of inspections, reactive and proactive. Our reactive initiatives usually comes from contacts with client services, which means that there are people that are calling us in to let us know their concerns, consultations with workplaces, tips. Tips are what is provided either confidential or anonymous by workers, employers, family members, wherever they believe that an individual that they know is working in an unsafe workplace. Reprisals, right to refuse, or reporting a serious incident. Each one of them is reviewed prior to being assigned to an officer, and once it's assigned to an officer, the officer is required within a certain time frame to initiate contact. Proactively, the Workplace Safety and Health undertakes both year-round and special enforcement initiatives to ensure Manitoba employers and workers understand their safety and health rights and duties, and that employers are meeting compliance with their legal responsibilities to protect the safety and health of workers and others in the workplace. So every year we create our strategy for areas that we're going to be focusing. This year, we looked at 4 types: high-risk industries, high-risk workplaces, repeat or willful noncompliance, and failure to notify of serious incidents, suspensions, excavations, asbestos work, asbestos abatement, and vulnerable workers. Now, the way we develop our strategy is taking information that's provided by the Workers' Compensation Board and determining which ones are performing at above average basis. So if the baseline of their premium, say, is $1, anything above that we would look at as a potential workplace to inspect. As it says, high risk industries, higher than average lost time injury. So we take that into account when we're doing our assessment of which ones we're going to be focusing on. Majority of our work this year has been focusing on high risk industries and vulnerable workers. So just a couple of classifications that we worked on in the last year or two. If you happen to fall within the classifications, chances are you've had an opportunity to experience an inspection, hopefully participate in one, and be able to meet one of us when we're there. As you can see, it is a wide range of workplaces and projects that we do conduct inspections in. Now, as an officer, our act gives us the power to, at any reasonable time, or where in his or her opinion a situation exists that is or may be endangered at any time, enter a workplace without prior notification, examine and investigate as necessary, including taking pictures, samples, inspecting documents, etc. Require equipment to be operated and tested. Now, workplace safety and health is broken down to 3 departments. I work for the ISU team, which is the Inspection Services Unit. We have a occupational hygiene unit, and we have an incident response unit. All officers are SHOs, so they all fall within these powers. So depending on the situation, whether it's a proactive inspection, whether it's a reactive where it's a complaint, or it's a serious incident, one of us from the team would be attending. So I just want to talk about enter a workplace without prior notification. So a lot of times we're asked or brought to us, why are we there? So under the Act, any workplace is subject to an inspection. Now, there are times where it's probably not the best time to attend and do an inspection, and we understand that. So within our Act, we allow workplaces to tell us at that time, you know what, you can't do an inspection, which we will take back and understand. However, if the reasoning is not reasonable, such as I just don't have time for you, or we're not working, or we just don't want you there, we can't really accept that. What we will accept is the place is shut down, we're in the midst of a cleanup, or there's something dangerous that could affect us as an officer for attending, so we would take that into account and not attend. So when we do arrive at your workplace, officers should be able to introduce himself, let the employer know who we are. So as you can see, there's a vehicle there. We do have vehicles that have decals that detail who we are. So once we do roll up, we're required to introduce ourselves to a member of the management team that is responsible for the safety and health committee. If there's no one there, someone in management that is closely related to that position. As officers, we're required to have Government of Manitoba issued identification. Make sure that when we do arrive there, that someone does ask for that. We've had instances in the past where individuals were impersonating us when they're attending workplaces, which, we don't really know why, but it's happened in the past. So when we do arrive, ask for ID and look at both sides of the ID. So our IDs have a watermark on them on the back. So it should give you an idea that this one is a legit piece of identification. Also, if you're still not sure about the individuals coming to your door as a a health officer, contact the office. So when we get there, again, we're there to do inspections. So we're going to review and discuss the safety and health program, and that will be a administrative and an actual physical inspection of the workplace. We will be asking if you have a safety committee for someone to join us from that committee, or if you don't have a safety committee, an identified safety rep. Um, we recognize that sometimes members of the committee are out in the field or they're not there. We fully understand that. We can always ask for an additional worker to attend with us so they have representation during the inspection process. The idea for that is that for what we're observing, both sides of the safety committee, employer and worker representatives understand what we're looking for. And if we have concerns, they could articulate what we identified. So yeah, so now we're at inspection, and we've gone through the introduction. We've confirmed who we are. We've requested for individuals to attend with us. So now we're going to do our inspection process. So our inspection process is two-part. If it's a full inspection, we're going to be looking at the administrative stuff, which is documentation such as harassment policy at the workplace, new worker orientation, policies such as working alone, violence at the workplace. We'll be looking at your safety board. Last time you had a meeting, the concerns that was identified at the last meeting, getting an idea of how the safety committee is functioning. From that, we would transition right into the workplace itself, and that's a full walkthrough of the workplace. Depending on the size of the workplace, usually an inspection will run between 90 minutes to no more than 2.5 hours. Again, based depending on the size and what hazards we're identifying when we're walking through. So when we are walking through, we are looking for hazards, and the hazards we're looking for or concerns that we're looking for is based on the Workplace Safety and Health Act. Anything that we identify is, we believe from our observation, is a contradiction of the act. Nothing that we identify or perceive to be a concern is never our own opinion. It's from what the act says and the training that we received. So we will look at how people are working, the machinery that you're using, talking to workers, talking to supervisors, understanding what the culture is at your workplace. So what officers look for during an inspection? Any situation may create an imminent risk to workers. So imminent risk, the way we look at it is we have a rating, and we determine from ourselves, from observation, where that rating is. If we see, like the photo you see here, where there is a ladder and there is a open space at a construction site, to us, that's a high risk, imminent for a worker to be hurt. Why we say that is because we see a open area in a construction site without any guardrails to prevent anyone from falling over. So that would be something that we would flag. We would most likely issue an improvement order and have a discussion. What we want to do, or our goal when we attend workplaces, is to have those discussions and identify safety concerns. More often than not, when people are going to work for long periods of time, years, it tends to be that when they walk in, it's just furniture. Everything's where it's supposed to be. It hasn't been moved. They really don't see that. And a lot of times people just go to work and do their job and don't really notice things because to them it's like second nature. So for us to come in, we're looking at it as third party eyes. And because we're not there, we have fresh set of eyes to see what concerns that we're looking for, whether it be how you're storing chemicals, it could be environmental conditions, such as if you're working outside, what the weather's like, or inside, is it too hot? So these are things that we'll take into account when we're looking at the type of equipment you're using. Are there safeguards removed? Does it need a safeguard? Um, we're going to try to evaluate what the workplace culture is like. So that is us actually corresponding and talking to workers. So you'll see officers approach someone, introduce themselves, ask what they're doing. That's one thing we do all the time is ask, what are you doing? Like, tell me about your job. And what we're trying to measure is the worker that I'm talking to understanding their work? So we're looking at, are they being trained correctly? Are they being supervised correctly? Do they know who to talk to if there's a concern that they see? So we also want to see that there is that the safety committee is also participating, and it's just not in name alone. So we would talk to the safety committee members, look at their, see how they're conducting themselves. Have they had the training? Have they done the pre-inspections on a routine basis? As a safety committee, you're required to do 4 meetings, at minimum 4 meetings in a year, so quarterly. So with that, there's a requirement to do a physical inspection yourself, where you would go around, talk to workers, identify any concerns that you may have, and bring up to the committee. Um, Another thing we'll be looking at is safe work procedures. So that's more documentation. So sometimes we will walk into a place and there is a machine that is being operated that doesn't have a safeguard. So in our experience, in our training, we know that certain machinery needs certain types of safeguards. However, because of the type of work they're doing, maybe a safeguard won't be able to be used because of the size, the way it's to be used, etc. So instead of a safeguard, safer procedures will be developed. So having those safer procedures at the workplace, at the machine is key, and ensuring that workers have had training. And now we always look for documentation. It's always there to support yourselves and the worker that, yes, we have taken the training. I understand this. A lot of times it's done verbally. So there's no hard, fast rule about that, but we like to see it as documentation and having workers sign off on the training they've completed. Supervisors have a large role in this, ensuring that workers are conducting themselves within safe work procedures as listed by the employer. So supervisors should be well versed on what the safe work procedures are at the workplace, especially for specific action they're doing or a job they're performing. Engineered controls and manufacturer specs. What we're looking for there is ensuring that machinery hasn't been modified where it's creating more of a risk, or that, for example, of excavations. Once you hit a certain depth, you have to have engineered specs to ensure that shoring is done correctly. So all those things we'll be looking at to ensure that workers that are performing their job in those areas are doing it as safely as they can. So once we've completed our inspection, the employer will receive documentation from us. So we have some of the documents that I've just put up here. The first one, report forms. Report forms is a report that details that during inspection, nothing was identified that would deem that an improvement order or corrective actions are required. It's more of a opportunity for the officer to list out areas that they observed, conversations they had, more of a reminder, and to let the safety committee and the members know that the officer looked at these areas. The report forms are good. It says that, hey, there was nothing wrong from the snapshot we had. And remember, we're coming in unannounced. We want to have a true snapshot of the workplace. So we don't necessarily schedule to come in to do inspections, because we do want to have that true view of what is going on in the workplace. In my experience, when we had to call in, it seems that everything's a little bit more prepared, seems a little bit more clean, and that's fair and that's fine. But the idea is to have a true, clear snapshot because we want to identify those concerns. we definitely want to help and work with employers on ensuring that workers are being safe, because we all have the same goal. We want to make sure that workers can go home safely at the end of their shift. So I'll continue on with the other types of reports that we do issue, but I'll just continue on with report forms. So on the screen there is an example of what you would get as a report form. As you can see, it has the employer's name, whoever you are, your address, date of the inspection, site contacts, whoever was representing management or the worker side. And on the top right-hand corner would be the officer's name and contact number. So with this, any report that you do receive must be posted at the workplace for everyone to review. We do check and inspect to ensure that reports are being posted for workers. And if it's not posted, there is a contravention in the act that we can write upon that. So now we go through the inspection and we identify concerns that require improvement orders. An improvement order means that you can continue working, but something needs to be done by a certain date, which is our compliance date, to ensure worker safety. So improvement orders, for example, of safeguards removed, safeguards required. It's anything that the officer observes that they believe to be a contravention of the act. And the observation is key. So when you do get an improvement order, read them carefully. Read of what is the observation made by the officer. Again, it's a snapshot of at that time what they observe. So if it's something that a safeguard was on the ground and it wasn't installed, however, you think that they were doing maintenance and they needed to remove it, those are things that we need to understand. Any order that we do issue, the employer has the right to appeal. Appeals can happen within 14 days of receiving our improvement order. Now, it's important for the safety committee and the employer to look at this, ensure that what is being said is actual factual. Officers will take photos of contraventions just so they can support themselves. So you have to ensure that senior manager is aware of the order, right? Sometimes we do understand that we are sending our reports to an individual and it may not go up to management. And it's the right of the person that we're dealing with to go and put it up, let people know that it happened, that an inspection occurred, and these are what needs to be improved. Safety Health Committee and representatives must be informed. Communication is key. Everyone needs to be on the same page when it comes to understanding that improvement orders need to be that were issued and that corrective actions need to be completed. And like I said, orders to be posted in the workplace and need to be communicated to all. So if you have multiple job safety boards, please post them up at all locations. So when you look at an improvement order, what you'll see on the report is some information here. It'll identify what the regulation that we're quoting. For this one here, it says Fall Protection, Workplace Safety and Health Regulation 14.6. It will give you our observation, what we see. Again, it's not an opinion. It is an observation of what we see is how we're going to write it. For this one, it's about fall protection. So workers were observed working on the roof of this work site located at heights of 3 meters or greater without the use of any fall protection systems. So that's an easy observation. You see them on the roof, you know it's greater than 3 meters. They don't have any fall protection. There's no guardrail installed, so they're at risk for falling. So we would issue this order. So the requirement is going to assist you in how you're going to comply the order. The employer must ensure that a worker is protected by at least one of the fall protection systems set out in section 14.6, where there is a risk of a worker falling in any of the circumstances set out in subsection 14.11. Now, all these is being quoted is straight out of the Workplace Safety and Health Act. It is a requirement to have a copy on hand at a workplace. You could have a paper copy or you could have a electronic copy, which you can grab from Safe Work Manitoba or Workplace Safety Health website if you don't have one now. Okay, so the improvement order will look like this on paper. So it would detail the information that we were talking about, our observation. So on this, a couple things I want you to focus on. On the left-hand side, you see order number 1, delete, and SWW. Now, if anywhere on this improvement order you see SWW, which stands for Stop Work Warning, that is something to be mindful of, as that failure to comply with the improvement order can result in a stop work order being issued. So we're letting you know right away that we believe that the contravention is high risk and it needs to be dealt with. So now you see on the right hand side, the compliance date, January 13th, 2024. That is important. So that is when we expect that information on how you believe you complied with this order needs to be submitted to the officer. So if you see, it looks like it's about 30 days or so, which is being issued here. It's the employer's responsibility to let us know how they've complied with the order within that time frame. And if you do not provide documentation or supporting photos or etc. by the compliance date, an officer will contact the employer, send a reminding email detailing that an improvement order was due by a certain date, and you'll have within that day, end of day, to provide compliance status. So it's very important as a committee or as an individual to understand that we have to meet the compliance dates. Now, we definitely understand that things happen in the workplace. Sometimes we can't comply the order with the compliance date, and we as officers have the ability to provide an extension up to the amount that we initially provided to you. However, any extension will require the employer to provide what they've done in the meantime to ensure that workers are still safe and what they've done to try to comply with this order. So, for example, if this was something about storage of flammable liquids and you were trying to buy a firebox that's rated under the Manitoba Fire Code, falls within that, which can withstand heat up to 30 minutes. You've purchased it, however, it has yet to be delivered, and you haven't had it installed and used prior to the compliance date. When you contact me or you send me email requesting for extension, that's what I want to see. I want to see steps that you've taken to comply. So providing me with the invoice that you purchased it, a description of when you believe that the item is going to be delivered, and when are you going to have it in use. Those all help me determine whether or not that I will provide an extension for however long to help you out. So if you say, hey, John, we have this invoice, we can make it to January 13th. It's supposed to come in on the 14th. We'll have it ready by the 15th. And you show me the invoice and it clearly states that, I have no problem extending the date within another 2 weeks. So we definitely understand that, and we definitely want to work with the employer. We just want to make sure that steps are being taken to correct it. What we won't accept is, hey, I forgot. Or you know what? I thought that was I thought that date was only a suggestion, or I thought that the legislature said I have 7 more days. So we definitely want to have clarity in this, that the compliance dates is important for the employer to meet the compliance dates when it's issued. So when you are receiving improvement orders and during the inspection, once the inspection completed, and an officer says we will be issuing you improvement orders, the officer should be providing you with a rundown of what improvement orders are going to be issued. Now, prior to them leaving, if you do not understand what is expected for compliance, please ask. Make sure you know what has to be done. If it's a safeguarding issue, or it's storage concerns, or it's racking, or it's an MSI concern, and you don't really understand what the officer is talking about, please ask questions. We are there. We're there to provide information. We're there to work with you to ensure that we correct it correctly. We definitely want to make sure that we both understand what is the concern. So then someone has to be assigned to identify what needs to be done to comply with the order. So usually it's the individual that we're working with and that is reporting to maybe maintenance or to the owner of the workplace, and being able to articulate what we're looking at. So once everything is completed, it is sent to the SHO. Comply the order to their SHO needs to be notified. So by notification, I would accept emails. I've accepted text messages with attached photos. Any way you could support yourself that you completed. Now, if you haven't sent it to us, and we sent our follow-up email and we've had no response after the time frame, the officer will attend the workplace and they will do a physical inspection. But we encourage that you go the route of providing the compliance to us via email or text or however it may be, because we want to make sure that both sides understand that there is severity with not providing compliance status. So that is forms of administrative penalties, which I'll cover later. So when you are complete, detail what you have done on the compliance report towards compliance. So on any improvement order, you will get the improvement order report, which I showed you earlier, and you will get a compliance report. And the compliance report looks like this, which details which you're required to fill out, your information up top, the order number, and what compliance actions you've taken. This will be as part of your compliance report to us, which also is made available to your workers as well. So on the bottom, it does need to be signed, just to show that both sides, if there's a safety meet, are fully aware of the corrective actions that were taken. So when you are submitting photos and receipts, this is also included as part of your compliance package to us. Just to reiterate about extensions, if you're not able to comply within a time frame, you must notify the officer who has issued the orders prior to the compliance date. It always is prior to the compliance date. I do get calls on the day of compliance that they're telling me that they need more time, and I'm sorry to say it to them, but it's something that we really take seriously, that you do comply with prior to the time frame. So I will listen. However, our position is that you had enough time. You should have let me know before it. We'll take into account what you've done to do it, and we will make a decision whether or not the extension will be provided. Now, any improvement order that requires it, the committee must be consulted, even including the extension. They must be made aware of why we're asking for an extension, whether it's it hasn't come in yet or whatever it may be. But we want to ensure that consultation between the safety committee, all members, management, and employee side or worker side is being completed. Again, it's my discretion of the officer if the timelines will be extended and how the considerations will include the risk involved previous extensions, reasons provided, etc. We do take into account what the risk is and how imminent it is for someone to be hurt. And if in previous inspections, if extensions were asked continuously, we'll take that into account. So it's more of a habitual pattern to wait till the last minute and do compliance. So committee consultation, the employee must consult with the Safety and Health Committee or representative at the workplace regarding compliance with the requirements of the Workplace Safety and Health Act and regulations. And ensuring that all members are fully aware of what the concerns are. So what does consult mean? Consult means to ask for input and suggestions and to give a fair opportunity to participate. It does not mean seek permission or approval. We got to work together. Both sides have to work together, ensuring the workplace is safe. So we want to ensure that each has an opportunity to put forward their positions, suggestions of how to make corrective actions, and have that open communication. It's definitely key ensuring we meet our goals of a safe workplace. Now, this is the one that most people get kind of concerned about, and really you should be, is a stop work order. If anytime you do receive a stop work order, we've identified something that is imminent risks that continuing on will cause serious health concerns, injuries, potentially death to an individual. And so as an officer, we have the right to say, no, this has to stop. So all work reference in the stop work order must cease immediately in a specific area or the workplace evacuated. Unless there's a province-wide stop work order, the stop work order will reference a specific activity, piece of equipment, or area. You're only stopped for the activities for the duration of the order. So there's no time frame that's listed on a stop work order. It could be a day, it could be an hour, it could be a week. It's ensuring that what we see as imminent risk is corrected. So province-wide, repeated contravention for the same offense by the same employer, we would continue to issue stop work orders. We see that mostly in the construction area with roofers who fail to use fall arrest systems when they're installing. And the biggest thing is that once it is initiated, only the officer who initiated the stop work order can withdraw or discontinue the stop work order. So they have to be satisfied that it is completed correctly. So this is what it looks like. Sometimes we have a stop work order and also included with improvement orders, depends on what we see at the workplace. But what I really want to focus on here is a stop work order SWO area, which states pursuant to section 36(1) of the Workplace Safety and Health Act, you're hereby ordered to cease and not permit the resumption of whatever it may be. Here's the note: workers must be paid while a stop work order is in effect. So construction guys in that industry, they see this more often because sometimes the work they're doing and how they're doing it can be imminent risks, such as no shoring in excavation, not tied off, working at the edge of a building, use of explosives. Yeah, those are a lot of things, or a machinery that they remove the safeguard in, and you observe how they're operating. Yeah, we have the ability to stop work the individual, or the area, to ensure that it doesn't happen. So how we communicate, it can be delivered in person by registered mail or by posting at the workplace. Stop work order is deemed to have been communicated at the time it's delivered, received, or posted, and takes effect immediately. If an officer issues an order to a contractor, a copy will be provided to the prime. So primes and subprimes or subcontractors both are notified if we believe that there are contraventions, stop work order or as an improvement order. Okay, so now again, appeals, we have built into our act appeals. Like I said earlier, any improvement order can be appealed. A stop work order cannot be appealed. So just so we're clear about that, but the appeal process is that within 14 days of receiving the improvement order, you have the ability to appeal. These are some sections that you could that falls within the appeal process: improvement orders, stop work order, discrimination action, right to refuse. The stop work order, even if you do appeal, it still is in effect. May appeal the order or decision to the Director of Workplace Safety and Health, and do not appeal directly to the SHO. So what that is that once you do believe that you want to appeal any improvement order, an email or something mailed to the director detailing that they want to appeal whatever the improvement is must be received. Our process is as such. The person appealing sends within 1 day, so we just talked about, within 14 days of the order or decision stating the reasons for the appeal, unless the person is interested in the appeal. Our director will provide a decision or refer to the labor board if required. The order of decision stays in effect until the decision is made. Like I said, director decisions can be appealed to the labor board. The labor board decision can be appealed to the Court of Appeal, but only on a question of law or jurisdiction and by the leave of a judge of the court. So you have different avenues of how to appeal, and there is a process. So it has to follow the process of first to us with our director, then to the labor board, and then to the courts of appeal. So I haven't had a lot of experience with that. So I just hear from others that when they do appeal, it does take some time. So it could take up to 30 to 60 days for a decision to be made. We do appeals pretty routinely, so we do have a process, so we're expediting that as well. Report on compliance. So report on compliance. Consultation with Safety and Health Committee, worker rep, or worker selected by workers is required. Provide copy to the committee. Written report must be sent to the SO within 7 days following the compliance date. So I want to clarify that. So it's written in our act where after the compliance date, you have 7 days. So that is more of if you are located in a remote area that you do not have email access, that we have to send it by mail, we will accept it within 7 days. Everyone else doesn't really fall in that because most of our workers are employers that are doing inspections that do have access to the internet. Again, anything that we do provide to you, whether it's a report form or improvement order, must be posted at the workplace. And SHOs will provide a reinspection report based on progress. So depending on the initial inspection and what improvement orders are issued, the officer will do a follow-up inspection between 3 to 8 months down the road to ensure that compliance has continued. And usually with that, the officer will attend randomly at their discretion. So again, closing the orders, a reinspection report will be issued, subsequent to perform a physical inspection or based on a report of compliance. Again, stop work orders must be withdrawn or discontinued by SHO, stays in effect until this happens. Why I'm repeating myself is because I want to make sure that this message is really clear to everyone of the expectations from workplace safety and health. Now, if you do happen to be in non-compliance, this is where we have the ability to do administrative penalties can be issued, prosecution has occurred, or stop work orders, administrative penalties, and posted on our website. So it is advertised and people are made aware of it. But we work together to try not to be in non-compliance. We'll give opportunities, but if all attempts have failed from our side with the employer, we will go this route of recommending administrative penalties. So administrative penalties, orders or violation may result in administrative penalty. A compliance with an order does not prevent the issuance of administrative penalty, which can range between $1,000 and $5,000 depending on the type of severity of the violation. So even if you do comply with an order at that time, but there is historically a repeat of this offense, administrative penalty will be recommended. And if the director believes that that this is the best way to go or agrees with it, they will send the employer a form detailing that administrative penalty has been issued. So just for prosecution, so you're aware of it, we can maximum of 500,000 for the first offense, up to $1 million for or for a second or other offenses going up, plus a maximum of 50,000 for the first offense, 100,000 for each day that the offense continues. So it does add up. We definitely don't want to go this route, but we will if we have to. Where criminal negligence has led to a serious workplace injury, illness, or fatality, charges may also be laid under the Criminal Code of Canada, especially in fatalities, especially when we determine that the fatality could have been prevented. It's definitely built in, so we want to ensure that all workplaces are fully aware of that. Keeping records, because we all like to keep records. So here is just a list of the records that you should be keeping a time frame, training, as you can see, inspections, lockout, noise, hazardous material, 5 years. That's under our Act 2.10. Committee minutes is 10 years. As you can see, the testing results, 10 years. Air quality monitoring, 10 years. Asbestos, safe data, 30 years, etc. Those are kept for that long because they want to see that if there was illnesses that were created because of the type of chemical that they're exposed to, we want to see what type of information was kept by the employer. So just a little bit of stats for everyone. Client services, who is the department that's responsible for collecting tips and calls. This is 2022-23, total of 6,058 were received, which resulted in 988 tips, which really is only 60% resulting in follow-up by workplace safety and health. So as you can see, a lot of people call us, they have safety concerns or what they perceive to be a safety concern. And from the discussion, we determine that it's not. So we direct them to the right department, or we let them know that it doesn't fall within our scope. So for our stats for last year, it shows what our inspections were, what resulted in improvement orders, percentage, etc. As you can see, appeals were at 37. I think we're around the same ballpark this year. As you can see, the average time to resolve appeals is 23 weeks. Now, I want to put a caveat that there are some files that I've been working on which have been ongoing for a few years because of the complexity of the appeal itself. So that's why that number is a bit skewed. So you can see we have issued administrative penalties and convictions. So what I have here is the regional manager's name, Darren James, and his number and his email address. Now, any question I can't answer, he's probably the best person to contact to let him know, if you have any concerns and all of that. Again, I am field ops, so I probably don't have time to answer a lot of emails because I am being sent out to many different places on a daily basis. So that's my presentation right now. I'm going to open up to the floor for questions, and I'm going to exit my presentation.
Thank you, John. So this is a really informative session, and your presentation was really, really helpful. We got a few questions on the chat. The first one is, what if the facilities are shared by multiple companies, have their own processes? How would they how would you include the representative and the members of existing committees in the inspection?
Okay, so Well, good question. So we enter places that have multiple workplaces in it. However, when we're attending a workplace, we're only we're only specific to that one employer. So even if a workplace has five different companies in it, we're only inspecting the one company we're there to see. Okay. So if we happen to be walking around and we see something that's imminent risk, we'll stop. We'll stop and we'll deal with it. But our purpose is to focus on the employer that we're there to see.
Okay. So the next question is, what happens to the IQIO compliance state when an appeal is requested in process?
So the appeal itself, like I said, the process for the appeal will go forward. However, it's still the employer's responsibility to comply the improvement order. So um, examples that I've had myself were safeguard remove on the machinery. Now they appealed my observation. However, even though they appealed it, they're still required to comply the order. So which was to return the safeguard back to the machinery. So appeal process went through. That was fine. It took longer than my compliance date, but I still held the employer accountable to ensure that they corrected it. Now, from the appeal, what it was whether or not they believed the safeguard was required, right? So that's what they were appealing, not the fact that I observed that the safeguard was removed.
Thanks. Another question is there a maximum number of extension that will be granted?
We, as an officer, I'm allowed to give one. So after that, I would have to bring it up to management and have a discussion. And they would ask me, why would they need another? You've given them X amount of time. Why they need another? If I can't answer that to myself and provide them, I don't think we'd provide an additional extension. But again, it's based on the officer's discretion. And as for myself, I do one, and then I will consider another. However, it's brought up to management's attention.
Another question is pertaining to the stop work orders. Would they apply to all facilities and stop work orders provincial?
No, it's only in the province of Manitoba, and like I said, the stop work order has to be specific. So, whatever the officer is observing, um, it would be very because we don't want to stop work, right? Like we don't want the whole place to stop working. It just whatever area or whatever we're seeing as a imminent risk that stops until it's corrected. So at a construction site, I might stop workers on a roof, but it doesn't mean that people inside the building can continue work. Yeah, they can still continue to work. Just the people on the roof can't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very specific to the area and machinery or whatever we see as imminent risk to be stopped.
Mm-hmm. Great, thanks again. Okay, another one here, right? Given your historical inspection, the IO and SWO data, are there any specific work activity and workplace types that the workplace safety and health will be emphasized during inspection this year?
Oh, you're talking about like projects and stuff, or what industries are we looking at? Is that what you're kind of referring to?
So Juan, would you mind you could explain a bit further from your question?
How about I say this?
Yes, he said yes.
Okay, so we are currently working on our 2024-2025 strategy. I put that screen up where it had a bunch of those industries. So this year we're adding to that. So I have been given approval to let this group know that for this year we'll also be looking at healthcare. We're looking at the movie industry. We'll be looking at agriculture. So we are increasing the industries that we're looking at for this year. Um, However, that's based on the officers we have. We're currently in the process of hiring. So hopefully we get them up and running and they're trained up. They have about a 14-week window of training. Then we'll send them out in the field. So, excuse me. So yeah, so we are increasing the areas that we are going to be inspecting in the next fiscal year.
Awesome. Another question is, what if we have the multiple facilities within the province? Does the SWO affect all facilities or just only specific one or one?
Only the specific one that we're dealing with. So for example, if you had a farming supplier business and you had four buildings that you're doing work, but I'm only looking at the one that is making the wheels. I'm only going to deal with that, and the other ones can continue to operate.
Great. So that's all I have on the chat. Is there more question you want to submit it before we wrap up the session here? So I give you another minute or two. But in the meantime, there's another one. Would inspector do inspection on the IPAC related, or this is left for the MOH? And it's all the revision.
I don't know. Like
Okay.
infection prevention and control. So occupational hygiene department would be focused on that. Ministry of Health. I could say that I know that our hygiene officers do look at concerns. I don't know about infection and prevention, but more of asbestos, more of chemical spills, more of that kind of area. So I'm going to say I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might fall outside our purview.
Yeah. Have any more questions?
You're welcome.
Yeah, in the meantime, on behalf of the Occupational Health Center, thank you, John, for giving us really, really informative session. This is really, really great information. You pass it out to all the different workplaces, right? So the session has been recorded. This is okay to share, right, to the participant, but unfortunately the slide is not able to share out. So hope you are understanding, everyone. But yeah, if this is no more question, we could conclude the session today. So thank you all of you to joining this afternoon. Hope everyone have a really great, wonderful spring. We're looking for spring break coming, right? And then Easter. So then we see you next month. Thank you.
Thank you, and stay safe, everybody.
Bye-bye.